Go ahead, Q.
Yeah, I was just gonna piggyback off of what Mike just said towards the end, and I fuck with Dr. Umar the long way, by the way. Um, but yes, I agree with that sentiment there. That if you're not believing that you can have heaven on earth, then what do you really reach for when you wake up on a day to day? A lot of times you look at people who are of the Caucasian race and their levels of prosperity and the things that they have, and it's almost as if they've taken on our ways of understanding God and religion and gave us theirs in exchange, which is the bullshit. So you see them, they're doing everything that needs to be done. They speak to things, you know, uh, positive this and affirmations that. And I think what's happened with this exodus is that we are kind of returning back to that. So when you look at the church, um, I had to step back on my spiritual journey, and when I started to see things in the church, I saw it a little bit different. And one of the things I noticed is that church is almost like hospitals. The pastor is going to give you just enough for you to feel good, but enough to come back. So you're not really getting fed enough to keep yourself sustained and do something in your community. So I don't see no benefit to that. It's like uh, I'm going to tell you that God can take care of everything, but also put the fear of the devil in you so that you have a codependency. Um, it's a weird thing, but I think that what's happened with a lot of us is we're coming under this new awakening, and that's where that exodus is coming from, in my opinion.
I think with that new awakening comes more so just on understanding or facilitating a relationship with God. I think and to quote urban Negro philosopher slash spoken word artist Jamal St. John, he says, if God created everything and is everywhere, then how come you chastise me for not going to church? Like the only place I can find God is there. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like we can find God in everywhere, every corner of our lives. And I think that is what keeps us from, I mean, like they say now, you don't even need school. You can find everything you need on the internet and educate yourself in ways that, you wouldn't believe. So I think the same can be applicable when it comes to understanding and learning God and quote, the Bible, whichever version it is you want to study or whatever. But I think we can get a lot of those, I don't know, what's the word? A lot of those religious fittings from just, online activity, speaking to the elders and things of that nature. I don't think the church is necessarily the fix for us all.
Or Mr. White, you had something. Well, real quick. Tell the poet I know where he stole that from. Jesus said it in Matthew 18. So tell him hold this.
Put him in the fucking bedroom. Get him out of here. Come on.
Niggas be trying to act like. Go ahead. My bad. Go ahead, Mr. White. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Yo, so I think it would be helpful if we did, just because, again, everything is so divided. I think the key is we have to make sure we're picking a church that has sound doctrine. And the reason why we don't know is because we don't study to show ourselves approved, right? So if we were reading the Bible and studying the Bible for ourselves, we would know what type of churches we need to be that we should belong to. But we don't. We go to, that's just like going to a bad hospital and, because their hospital is bad, I'm giving up on all hospitals. But it's because you don't even know what you're supposed to be getting while you are there. So I don't think the issue is the church. The issue is people are lazy. People don't want to read the Bible for themselves. And just because, I'm a pastor, they're not really pastors. Just because they call themselves a pastor or a teacher or an apostle, but you can't even decipher the difference because you don't know. And so, where it messed us up at is now it's pushing us all away from the Bible, which if you read the Bible for yourself, it literally will prevent you from going through a lot of the things that you've been through that has caused the trauma in your life, and for you to put up the walls outside of childhood, right? Like who you allow access to you, and all of those, everything we touch, I promise y'all it's in there, but we cut it off because of the people who we listen to teach it to us. So that's my little 2 cents. So.
I wanted to talk about like the social contract between the Black community and the church. It's been broken over the years. Like if I pay You know, if I put, $1,000 into my house year after year after year, 20 years, after 20 years, I'm going to see something. I'm going to see the result of my money and investment in this house. It is actually tangible. With tithes, which I just can't get into the concept of that. What is my direct benefit from investing in a church for that long? Nothing. I mean, yes, they may have community programs, but the government could do that. What is the church doing with the money, and the congregation and what they pull together? I think Evander Holyfield said he used to give millions to a church. And then when he went bankrupt, he went to that church to ask for help. And they said, hey, I can't help you, brother.
Yeah, I remember that. Damn.
In corrupt little dollars, church, I just feel like no one should be broke. No one should ever have an issue with paying rent. People should not have any financial issues because of how much money he's been able to make over the years. But that's just not how it is. And that's that social contract. It's that prosperity gospel. It screwed us.
So I have a question. And now with the tithing thing, that's still something I'm studying for myself, right? But my thing is, we're willing to give money to everything else. So why is it an issue when it comes to the church? We don't mind going to the club, paying. We pay money everywhere.
Because I get something.
Hold on. To be around people. We pay money everywhere else for the environment and for everything else. But the church, I can't give it to them.
So if I go to the club and pay $20 to get in, the contract is I'm gonna see bitches. That's the contract, right?
Shit like that.
Tangible almost immediately. And if I don't, then I don't come back, right? That's fine. The church encourages you to come back and donate, and there's nothing that you receive, anything tangible over the years. And that's the problem.
If you think about it, most pastors are just well-paid motivational speakers. So it's like whoever speaks to you. If you are into business, who's into business? Who's the motivational speaker for that? Tony Robbins? If you're into sports, isn't that hip hop preacher Mike, whatever? You get what I'm saying? So, I'm into Jesus. That's your pastor. A highly paid motivational speaker is who's going to speak to everything that you want to hear, but it's anything that gets you going the same way you could get out of a motivational speaker. That's what it's become. So there's no real benefit. I mean, I was going to ask Mr. White, where is this church that you speak of? At least one of them.
So mine is fire, but my opinion of what a church is supposed to do is a lot different than other people, right? So I love my pastor in the church I go to because he's big on discipline, accountability, and obedience. And so that's what he teaches to challenge me. And then it's me learning from him is what pushed me to really start reading the Bible for myself, to where now I don't necessarily go there just to be taught. And now I know my purpose of being there is to the people, right? So the relationships that I have been able to cultivate with all of these other men who are now struggling in their marriages, or they literally have nobody to turn to. Had I not been at that space, I would have never been able to connect with them. Right. So it's not my pastor. I'm not at a place to where, I need my pastor to feed me this every day. No, I'm to a place to where it's up to me to do it. But this community where the focus is discipline, character, like love, accountability. That's what I need. That's what I needed. That literally propelled me to the man that I am today.
Right. So that's not like something.
I don't tithe. If I don't tithe, nobody don't say nothing to me. I don't even be tithing like that. I offer. Because like I said, it's something I'm still struggling, something I'm still working on learning for myself. But the teaching that I got there was very sound.
Mm-hmm. So that sounds like some personal shit, though. That doesn't sound really, and no disrespect, that doesn't really sound like a church that would further or fix the Black community or Black America. It sounds like it sounds like, let me land. It sounds like it's a benefit to you, and you're getting what you need to get out of it. And I fuck with that, because just because I subscribe to something doesn't mean that the world should subscribe to it. That's my opinion, right? So that's something that you get out of that. It could be something different for the next person, and what they're getting out of their belief in God or their religion is bringing them to a whole different level in life, to where they're doing abundant work in their community, right? So I don't, the way that you were describing it at first, I'm like, oh wow, so there is that one church, because I don't see the benefit of churches for the Black community as far as fixing them. But again, it doesn't sound like you're saying, and in this many months we went from being 100,000aires to millionaires, or we went from, you know, doing this to fixing these amount of things. It's like, oh, I got the discipline and the structure and almost that mentorship that I needed, which I think you can't easily find in a church. And not to throw the baby out with the bathwater, I don't think anybody should just be throwing the Bible away just for anything. I think if God is speaking to you directly, then you're going to be led in what you need to be doing. So,
Right,
I mean,
but when you look
whoever's
at
doing that, stepping away from the
the
church and throwing the
problem,
Bible away, they don't need to. Shame on them.
right, but when you look at the issue with the Black community, it's the division, it's the lack of discipline, it's the lack of morals. You know what I'm saying? Those are the main things with why there's so much division. It's the lack of accountability. If we all were on the same page in those areas, we would do better as a whole.
Right, but that's not limited to the church.
I'm not saying it was, but I'm saying it would be helpful if we went to a church. And that's why the thing I said differently was sound doctrine, right? The Bible is really about, like, obedience matters. Understanding matters. Being able to be held accountable to a higher moral, like, that matters. And because we don't have that, and we all have different things that we value, that's why the division is going to continue to grow.
But church is
that's all I'm saying. So I'm not saying you're wrong.
Yeah, church is such a business now, such a cash cow. It's such a business now. Where are you seeing that in large numbers? So you're talking about, I think maybe what you're probably speaking to is creating churches that will fix the Black community, not necessarily the church being a fix for Black America, because the church as we know it, that's a big cash cow. That's a moneymaker right there. You know what I mean? That's a business.
Right.
Like, oh, I want to invest in the church. I want to start making some bread. That's a hustle. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like, now you get all these people there, and you get their money, you get their investment, because they're really having this belief. But in a way, the church becomes a crutch to people. So that accountability piece isn't there, because it's like, why do I need to pray when I could go to the pastor and tell him about my ailment, or tell him about my marriage, or tell him about my problem? He's gonna do the work for me. But stepping away sometimes is gonna force you into, okay, I gotta do this shit for myself. That's why I said I think there was a spiritual benefit to the pandemic. Because when you close them churches down, now it's like, what the fuck? God, here I am, God. It's you and God now.
Well, I agree with you in terms of, I feel like the majority, I'll say like 98% of them are that way. But that's why I started with saying finding one with sound doctrine, because they're not going to tell you to do none of those things that you said. So it is a hard find, right? I'm not saying, hey, this church that I'm seeing, it's everywhere, right? And it may not even have to be a building. Like, I definitely think these things are happening in different types of places, just because of what the church has become. But even if you take that outside of it, when you look at the community piece and just the alignment piece, we were doing better, right? People had a lot more support than we do now. And a fist is better going the wrong way. You know, eventually at least that fist can come around together, versus a million things scattered. Now nothing can get done. But if you got a group of people going one way, eventually maybe that group can turn to the right way and something get done. But all right, next topic. We ain't about to hog this whole thing up.
well, just in terms of clarification with some of the things that were said. So the Bible, I think the acronym is Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth. So if you look at it as that, and you take the law, statutes, and commandments and use them to guide you, that's where you benefit. All this private interpretation and doing as you will is where we getting fucked up at. So, for instance, if you just take tithe as an example, in Deuteronomy 14, the priests did not work. They dwelled in the temple. So twice a year, you give them money or food or whatever it is that you could provide to them, because they didn't do anything else, right? So they needed the other tribes to provide for them. If you go to Acts 4 in the New Testament that the Christians love so much, they brought all their stuff together, they cashed it out, and then they said, okay, you need $100? Here, you take that. You need $50 because you're doing all right, you take that. So that's Acts 4. You can start at verse 30, Ro, because you know the Bible so well. I saw you thinking.
No, I don't think they were talking about cash money. I thought they were talking about.
Yeah, they cashed it all and they brought all their goods and they say, okay, you left with
They were
what you
talking
need.
about goods. They weren't saying cash.
So remember, so they brought the goods, right? They liquidated them and then they say, you need this, you take that, so on and so forth, right? So money is goods, right? Because it was trade and barter. Stay with me now. This is in Acts. So this is what year? Just be careful. That's all I'm saying. So you know what I mean? So if you just read it for what it says, it's pretty plain, but we try to like do too much with it. Right. So when you talk about the pastors, Mike, and we all talk, or Q especially, they don't just do the church. They got a million other jobs. They doing marriage counseling and all some other shit. Then why are you taking a salary? Because the Bible said you only need tithes because you ain't doing nothing else but taking care of the flock and preaching and doing, so on and so forth. So no, it's interesting, man. Interesting. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. Do me a favor, hit that like button right now. That helps the channel the most. Drugs. Sis. Final thought.
Just have a good night, everybody. I guess I'll see you next Tuesday.
Word. Mary.
We need to keep trying to build stronger Black families to help our Black little boys and girls.
Word. Ro.
The remedy to fix the Black community is to teach our children about the country that they live in and how to survive in it.
Word. Q.
I'm with a Black woman for real. My baby chocolate. Y'all be safe.
Word.
Sorry.
No, yeah. My bad. Go ahead.
They like, I know that's right. Big up. My final thought is Black people open a book, read, educate yourself, understand politics, understand legislation, understand your people, understand who you are, understand where you came from so you can know where you're going. Just educate yourself. Education is so pivotal, so that you can break the shackles of your mind off.
Word. Mike.
We have everything we need as a community to succeed. We got Black colleges, Black banks, chambers of commerce, businesses, apps, politicians. And it's really just, we need to start supporting each other and being unapologetically Black.
Word. Mr. White.
Let's continue to improve our communication with each other. Let's continue to show each other grace, because Black men are worth it, Black women are worth it, and together there's nothing we can't do.
Yeah, man. 100% agreed, man. I think all the sentiments tonight were valid because they a lot of people provided some substantive thought behind them, regardless if you agree or not. Right? I think entertainment is in disagreement, but at the end of the day, you still gotta hear it. I think that's the key. Yeah. So I know Adrian touched on it, but I don't think the church is the answer. But if we can agree on a particular set of instructions, I think we would be much better off. I'll give you guys one gem. You could throw it out if you want to. If you go to Exodus 22, verse 16, sex is marriage. I wish I would have known that before I start busting all these chicks down. It's a lot of them too.
Shit like that. Shit like that. Shit like that.
Imagine how much different life would be if we all knew that and conducted ourselves in that way. You feel me? Just a little something. Like, share, subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. We out.